Now with a special guest. Hi, Rich.
Hey, good afternoon, Aisha. The barbecue's coming a little bit later today. We've got some speeches coming up, and that includes Senator Tim Scott, who's just recently declared that he's running for president. Senator, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. It's a crowded stage. It's a crowded field.
Yes.
How do you break through?
Well, easily. The optimistic, positive message, when I take it on the road, people are starving for a little optimism as long as it's anchored in conservatism and you have a backbone. The good news is I have both. That's good news for the American people. It's been good news on the campaign trail.
So, you talk about that positive message. You're very positive on the campaign trail. You're very explicit about it. What do you think about the tone that you've heard from some of the other candidates so far? And just generally in political discourse, do you think we've reached a point in this country where we're getting down in the mud too much?
Well, there's no doubt that I believe that conservatism anchored in optimism is the way that we start winning elections. 7 out of the last 8 popular votes for president we have lost. The GOP, the Great Opportunity Party, has to give Americans reasons to be optimistic and to look forward, as well as defending the values that we love the most, that we know leads to human flourishing. If we do both at the same time, give America a vision for the future and defend and conserve our foundation, we become the dominant party for the next generation of Americans.
We've got some more Republicans who are entering the race. Former Governor Chris Christie, former Vice President Mike Pence, Doug Burgum, the governor of North Dakota. How does that change the dynamic of the race? And do you risk in such a crowded field getting lost in all that?
I don't. The good news is I get to stand out with my optimistic, positive message, but I also have been able to accomplish a lot of things from a legislative perspective. The Tax Cut and Jobs Act, I was one of the 3 main authors of it. We lowered taxes for single moms by 70+%, dual households by over 60%, and we returned to the American people more than $4,000 on average. It's time for us to get back to work, give people their money back, and let's let the American dream continue to be the beacon that we all look for.
Republicans talk an awful lot about debt and deficits. You just had a big vote in the Senate.
Yes.
Back when you were in the House, there was a lot of talk about block granting Medicaid, that you can't deal with deficits and debt unless you deal with entitlements. Republicans have stopped talking about that. Should they?
Well, in 2011, we had the BCA, the Budget and Control Act, that actually led to the first time in more than 3 decades a reduction in spending of over $40 billion. I had the good fortune of being part of that team that actually cut the budget for our country. There's no question that we have to, secure Social Security for our seniors. We will not cut your Social Security. We will protect it, Social Security, Medicare. But we do have to get back to the table of understanding that under President Joe Biden, the radical left, we're spending 40% more than we're bringing in. Stop printing and spending money, leading to 16% inflation and imperiling families like the one I grew up in. Single-parent households cannot afford 40% increase in gas, 20% in food, 20% electricity. We can do better. We have done better, and it's time for the Scott presidency to lead us in the economic direction that solves our problems.
Senator Tim Scott, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. So we've got Senator Scott here, a handful of other candidates who are going to be speaking later today. We've got all the coverage here on Fox News. Aisha and Griff, back to you.
Rich, let me ask you a quick question before I let you go. Just from talking with people on the ground there.